told you guys, like, we love St. Clemente. I love St. Clemente. And I've been here for 23 years on and off now. And in 2014, I was a worship pastor at a church here in town. It was such a sweet season. My wife and I were serving there, and we had all 4 of our kids during that time. And we loved it here, but we just started feeling like just this kind of stirring in us to take a step of faith and just, I started dreaming about, like, what if we just like go on the road for a year, just sell everything, buy an RV, and just go travel. Anyone ever thought about that? Just get out of here. So I was thinking about that, and I thought that my wife was going to just shut it down because it really is a silly idea. I said to her, like, what if we do this? And her response to me was awesome. She said, like, what's the worst that could happen? Let's give it a crack, you know? So we did that. We sold everything. We bought a nasty old 5th wheel trailer and an old Ford F350, and we traveled with our family for almost a year around the country. And it was an amazing time. And what's kind of crazy is that at that same time, Tommy and his wife Debbie had also left Colorado, and they were traveling around the country also just like in faith and just saying, like, God, what do you have for us? So it's just crazy that every time I in my life stepped out in faith and done something like, you know, in faith, like Peter stepping out of the boat, not that I was doing this crazy noble thing, but God's always got us, you know. If He's put a dream in your heart and you step out, I've always found Him just to be very faithful in those situations. And one of the cool things that came out of that is that we met the Ewings, and Adam Color was one of the many blessings that came out of that. But I want to sing you guys a song that is about that story about going on the road, and it's called What's the Worst That Could Happen.
It's always been a dream of mine to take a chance and let it ride, to hit the road, see where it might lead. Dreams like that, they vanish fast. Crazy thoughts like that don't last, especially when there's little mouths to feed. Then one night when we were dreaming, you looked up at me and said, what's the worst that could happen? We could lose everything, and we'd have nothing to worry about, and you'd have some new songs to sing. Finally overcame our fears, packed it up and cried our tears, and set out with the haziest of plans. We always said we trust the Lord to guide and to take care of us, but now we're really giving Him a chance. 'Cause on that night when we were dreaming, you looked up at me and said, what's the worst that could happen? We could lose everything, then we'd have nothing to worry about, and you'd have some new songs to sing. What's the worst that could happen? Might have to sell my diamond ring, but we still have this love in our hearts, and you'd have some new songs, some new songs to sing. I could give you some advice, live that dream and don't think twice, even if it means you might go wrong. 'Cause all I have is one regret, all the times that I forget the truth in those words that she spoke. on the night when we were dreaming. She looked up at me and said,
Sing with us.
what's the worst that could happen? We could lose everything, then we'd have nothing to worry about, and you'd have some new songs to sing. What's the worst that could happen? Might have to sell my diamond ring, but we'd still have this love in our hearts, and you'd have some new songs, some new songs to sing.